All right, what is going on, everybody? How are you today? I'm J-100. Today, we're going to be talking about if Coach Prime deserved to win Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year. Now, uh, this is controversial, I guess, for a lot of reasons, most of which I believe is people just being sick of Prime, not really knowing who Prime is, not really getting um why he's winning won the or is going to win or won the award in the first place, excuse me. Um and it's really not that hard to understand. I don't know why this posted this way. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Sorry. You were supposed to change that there. Restream. Um, Sorry about that. I had to change my description because Restream wanted to keep what I had last time. What is happening right now? Sorry about that. All right. Boom. Sorry about that. There we go. So, Coach Prime, man. Boom. Coach Prime. Hey, baby. Thanks for the heart. Coach Prime, won Sportsman of the Year. What is the sportsman? And so here, my thing about this is I'm a big sports fan, so I'm aware of the fact that Sports Illustrated has a sportsman, sports person as they're calling it now, of the year. So for those that don't know, since 1954, Sports Illustrated has annually presented the Sportsman of the Year awards to the athlete or team whose performance that year embodies the spirit of sportsmanship and achievement. And both men and women have won the award, originally called Sportsman of the Year and renamed Sportswoman of the Year or Sportswomen of the Year when applicable. Now they just call it Sports Persons of the Year. So, I mean, this isn't really that crazy of an award. It's an award that this magazine, whose job it is to sell magazines, decides to give an interesting, noteworthy sports person a, a, a long article and some pictures, and you get to know about that person a little bit better, and for the reasons why they chose to have them be Sportsman of the Year. And I mean, when you go through, let's go through the more recent times. When you go through the more recent times of people who have won Sportsman of the Year, um, I mean, you got Steph Curry last year, Finals MVP, led the Warriors to their fourth title in 8 years. And I didn't really pay attention to Sports Person of the Year that year for Steph Curry. And even though not every single one of these has something to do with um, a huge um, uh, uh, charity or event like that, um, I think that Stephen Curry should have won this one because it was his first Finals MVP. He's won all these finals, but he's never won Finals MVP. So I probably would have gave it to him that year too. But if you take a look at these, in 2020 they had one, two, three, four, five people, including LeBron James, winning it for his third time, win the award, and all of these athletes: Brianna Stewart, Naomi Osaka, Patrick Mahomes, Laurent Duvernay Tardif. I mean, this dude is the Super Bowl champion, and he sat out the 2020 season to serve as an orderly during COVID-19. I mean, that's dope. LeBron worked to end voter suppression. First 3-time winner. Boom, there you go. Patrick Mahomes was the Super Bowl MVP, but also pushed the NFL to recognize Black Lives Matter movement and push to encourage registration across voter registration across the country. Naomi was the U.S. Open champion, and she's an advocate for social justice. Breonna Stewart, WNBA Finals MVP, spoke out against racism and for women's equality, stuff like that. Like, it just doesn't always necessarily have to be about just winning something, right? Or being the best at something. Because, especially for this year, because Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes team's only 4-18, but he's winning Sports Person of the Year. So, I mean, overall, I believe that the reason why Prime won Sports Person of the Year was for the reasons that they say, that he revitalized the Colorado Buffaloes football program. And then when you read the article, they highlight his work within the university. And then when you also read the article, they talk about how he had a great economic impact in Boulder, Colorado, with what they're calling the Prime Effect. And the Prime Effect, I'd liken that to like LeBron James when he left Cleveland, and then when he came back from Cleveland, and then when he left Cleveland again, and what that did for the local economy and things such as that. So I would think that in a hyper-capitalistic country such as the United States of America, that a black man who, if you understand the reason why Coach Prime is even coaching in the first place, one of the things that he was mentioning was how he wanted to be someone that highlights and shows that black men can be coaches on the highest level. When you have a coaching, epidemic, if you will, or lack of a coaching epidemic in the college ranks, and then you know about the Brian Flores lawsuit and how they have the Rooney Rule in the NFL. And how the NFL has been struggling with diversity in those ranks as well. Prime, being a coach in the first place, was to highlight that they can do it on the highest level. Him finally making it to the Power Five after being a high school coach and then the coach of Jackson State in the HBCU leagues, and the SWAC. Who's SWAC? I'm SWAC. Sorry, I just get distracted every time I hear that. But there was an issue that he was there to address, and him making inroads in Colorado and having what's called the Prime Effect is, to me, I believe, the beginning of something to come, something that's going to change here in the near future, when it comes to not only how coaches coach, but what those coaches look like, right? So before we get into the controversy of Prime and what everybody has to say about Prime, there has been other times when there was backlash, because one of the things that I was questioning is first off, how many of y'all even read Sports Illustrated? Number one. Number two, how many of y'all even knew that Sports Illustrated had a yearly Sportsman of the Year that was so prestigious that when it's the wrong person, everybody, makes a big stink about it for the next week and a half or something like that, right? I didn't. Now, I am familiar with Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. I just didn't really think that there were very many controversies, but there was. When I was doing a little bit of research on, just making sure I had all my ducks in a row for this video, I found this article about when Dwayne Wade won and how big of a deal that was. So the reason why that was a big deal was it was also a big deal that LeBron James won Sports Person of the Year in 2016. And so in 2016, there was two major things that, especially in Cleveland, that should have went down. What should have went down was the Cavs won their first NBA Finals in franchise history, and the Guardians / the Indians at the time, but the Guardians were going to win their first World Series since 1949, and they were up 3-1 against the Chicago Cubs, and then they blew a 3-1 lead, which is hilarious because in order for LeBron to have won the finals that year, he had to come back from a 3-1 lead. So it's crazy. But LeBron won Sports person of the year that year because of the finals. But if you know anything about his philanthropic work, he has a school that, you know, has kids going to college at this point. The school's been going on so long that now he's paying for their tuition at Akron University and things such as this. So, and he was an NBA player, but he fought to get full-time custody of his sons. It's very inspirational to people who are fighting for custody of their children, especially when there's a stigma of black fathers not being in their lives, which statistically is not even correct either. Black men are statistically involved in their children's lives more than all the other groups, but that's another conversation for another time. We're talking about Prime. Now, the backlash to Prime, oh man, there's so many different things. Where to begin? So the first one is that everybody believes that Prime shouldn't have won Sports Person of the Year because his team didn't do that well. And need I remind you, this is Sports Person of the Year, made by Sports Illustrated. This isn't Coach of the Year. This isn't AP Coach of the Year. This isn't ESPN's Coach of the Year. This isn't college football's Coach of the Year. This has nothing to do with if your team was good or not. This is Sports Person of the Year for other things that happen. What are the other things that people are saying? That other coaches should have won it. Like, so you had Mike Norvell, who was the coach of Florida State University, who got snubbed for the playoffs, if you ask me, but he had a great season, but the award wasn't for a great season. Another coach that they bring up, that I see all the time, is David Braun from Northwestern, who Northwestern last year was another team in the Big Ten that went 1-11, and this year they went 7-5 and are going to a bowl game, which if Prime got to a bowl game, maybe the things that people are saying wouldn't be so tough, because everybody could say, well, he went to a bowl game, you know what I mean? They went from 1-11 to a bowl game, but he didn't win enough games. There was a bunch of games where there was one or two possessions, they blew leads and things such as that. So, you know, they kind of out of contention for that. But again, this is not what this award was about. The ones that I found real interesting are the ones where they were saying that he was a loudmouth. I think I know what that is alluding to, you know, kind of like racist dog whistle. I'm not trying to throw the racist thing out there, but why would you call this guy a loudmouth? He's not really that loud. And up until this season, in his first season on a rebuilding in a Power 5 program, because rebuilding a Power 5 college program is a little bit different than your fantasy team or the SWAC or even the MAC in my area, where you got Kent State and Bowling Green and those schools. It's hard to rebuild those type of teams, especially when, if you look at half his schedule, it was ranked teams, right? So this loudmouth accusation is interesting to me, because if you know anything about Prime, like, yeah, he got a lot to say, but he backs up everything that he does and has done his whole career. The other one is that he's arrogant. That one is funny because yes, he is arrogant in a way. I wouldn't even say he's arrogant. No, I wouldn't say he's arrogant. I would say that, well, because he's backed up everything that he's ever said that he was going to do, including revamping the program. The program may not be where we want it to be in the first season, but he did revamp that program. So as far as I'm concerned, the man's able to say or do whatever he wants or wear whatever he wants, because he can back up what he says and he holds his team to account and things such as this, right? How his teams have no discipline or any sportsmanship. And I think it's hilarious that when sportsmanship comes up when a team you don't like, or a team that is really black, because that's the only real time that I ever really hear it, is successful, and is able to do things that are like braggadocious because they're successful. I don't know. That one's weird to me too. The other one is the over coverage. Now, if there's any criticism of the criticism that I've been hearing, because I have my own criticism, but if there's any criticism of the things that I've been hearing about the criticism that I will somewhat agree with, which isn't 100% his fault, is the over coverage of Prime. And part of that over coverage is, if you understand sports media is about hype that they create and hype that they destroy, right? So they're going to create hype so they have something to talk about, so they can, have the thing that they're talking about that everybody wants to be talking about, right? But then when that topic gets stale, they destroy it. And then they spend weeks on end destroying the topic, and then, we move on to something else, unless that topic's able to come back up. Now, as far as the over coverage goes, I kind of agree. He was over covered, but that is only because the things that you needed to know about Prime, and the things that Prime had been doing, and the things that Prime had been saying, and the things that Prime were accomplishing, nobody was really paying attention to until he was backing up what he was going to say. And so this is where where all of this kind of leads me to. Because when it's all said and done, I do believe that Prime does deserve this award. And it's an award that comes from a magazine that who's reading this nowadays? I mean, honestly, there's a once in a while, like when sports news comes up, I will read an article, but who's reading the Sports Illustrateds? Honestly, the Sports Illustrateds to me are just covers. So who cares if the guy got an award, right? But the big thing about this is I think the thing that we do need to talk about is what Prime actually meant, to the point that they had to cover him so in the way that they did cover him, right? So Prime is like the MCU, or like the Star Wars universe right now. There's so much media, and there's so many mediums that you're going to need to look up in order to know what's going on with him, in order to know what the story is now, right? So what I mean by that is if you're not watching his son's YouTube channel, Well Off Media, you don't know what's going on with Prime and Colorado, or whatever you want to know behind the scenes on a daily basis. If you're not keeping up with Prime's documentary that was on Barstool when he was at Jackson State, then you don't know the things that he went through live on camera at Jackson State. If you're not following the things that he did when he was working with NFL, when he had his reality show, when the kids that you see now, winning and losing football games when they were children, and basketball games. Can't forget about his daughter. There's a lot of media and mediums that you need to go through in order to see the full picture of Prime, that if you do follow him for real, if for all these people that are hating, if you do follow him, you actually got a story that you could follow, but you don't really want to, but that's fine. The thing that really needs to be understood about this situation right now is Prime had the landscape of college football scared. When the coach that said, "Hey, I want to coach," and y'all like, "Nah, we don't want Prime to coach," and he said, "I want to coach," and you don't want Prime to coach. He said, "That's all right. You want me to coach? You don't want all these other brothers to coach? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go with my people. I'm gonna coach with my people, and I'm gonna show you what I do there." And so he takes his son out of South Carolina, because Shiloh was already playing D1 at South Carolina. Took him out of South Carolina, brings him down to Jackson, brings Shador from Texas high school to Jackson. Actually, he was there a year before then, but once they got their ducks in a row, they were able to play together in Jackson. Two out of the 3 years he was there, they go to the finals. They won the finals the second year he was there, but then they lost at the finals the second year he was there. I forgot which team it was. That was a good game until the end, and I don't know, just Jackson just should have been playing a little bit harder than they did. But we already knew that Prime was leaving. But when Prime took Travis Hunter from Florida State, that shook up the college football world, because not only was he taking a 5-star recruit from a team in a conference that you don't believe should even be in the playoffs right now, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, right? But not only did he do that, but he was making other high star recruits thinking of doing the same thing. And the thing that you guys were saying, not you guys, but the people that were complaining were saying then was, oh, these kids aren't going to be able to go to the league. He's going to ruin them by not giving them the spotlight and the shine. But then the spotlight and the shine came to the HBCU. Now, when it's all said and done, do you think that ESPN and College Game Day wanted to do their show down in Jackson, Mississippi at an HBCU when they don't even cover HBCUs? I don't even think the game was broadcast on ESPN that day, but they were showing Prime and what he was doing in Jackson on College Game Day. They had to understand and know who they were dealing with, right? And so instead of being able to beat him, because how are you going to beat him? The only way that you're going to beat him is if you were going to have Jackson State come up like a FB, like Appalachian State playing Michigan when they lost back in 2006. Oh, I love that one. Unless they had Jackson come up and play these teams that they would destroy, that Prime said that he wasn't going to do. We're not going to play these poverty games, as he calls them. These games where these teams go and get beat up for a buck. No, we not doing that. So if you're not going to be able to beat him on the field, you're going to have to buy him out of where he's at, because he can't keep taking these recruits and having them come, whether it was him or any of these other coaches, and have them come to these HBCUs when the money is at these Power Fives. So we got to get this man out of here, and we got to get him into a Power Five, which is the reason why then his first year in the Power Five, Sports Illustrated makes him the sports person of the year. Do you see? It's really not that hard to understand. Is in order to keep the guy who can destroy your stranglehold on college football, in order to keep him appeased, you gotta give him awards that he kind of deserves but doesn't, but deserves but doesn't, but deserves clearly, because he shook up and scared the landscape so much that they had to buy him out. Now, for myself personally, right? I believe that Prime should still be in Jackson and helping build the HBCU program. Now, I always felt and believed that he probably was going to go to a Power Five school eventually, but and I do appreciate the things that he has done for the HBCU, but I don't think that he should have left when he did, because there was so much more work that could have been done. For the problems with funding, he could have fixed that and then left. With the problems with transportation and the problems with the fields and the problems with maintenance and the problems with, whatever, them getting sponsors, and the problems with visibility, and the problems with kids from the HBCU leagues not getting to the next level. He could have put a stamp in the a flag in the ground and got these things taken care of before he left. That probably would have made me feel better. But ultimately, I'm not Prime Deion Sanders. He is a grown ass man, and he can do whatever it is that he wants to do. How he wants to do it. Now, there was problems, that are documented about how the schools withholding money from him because of from ticket sales, and people from within the building were stealing things while they were in the locker room, and issues that he was having with faculty and some other teams and some things like that. And for myself personally, like I said, if I knew how powerful and pivotal I was to making my the thing that I came to coaching for happen, I probably just would have stayed and dealt with some of those things until I fixed it. Hey, when I first came here, these are the things that are happening. And now that I'm leaving, these are the things that we fixed and we accomplished. And then when I go to the Power Fives and I put it up and, beat their butts too, I'm not going to be doing it with my people and the institutions that they have and the institutions that they run historically, and for how historically powerful those institutions are for us in our community. I wouldn't have left them in on the wayside like that. And there's a lot more that goes into it that I'm not going to talk about this video. But ultimately, I would have left the league doing what I was trying to fix, which is to have more black coaches to be in these bigger, powerful positions. But the best way to do that is within community with your own, and going that route. But ultimately, I think that Prime deserves to win coach sports person of the year, not coach of the year, excuse me, not coach of the year by any stretch of imagination, because ultimately what he did for Jackson in the short period that time he was there, and what he did for Boulder, Colorado for the short period of time that he was there, just by being the coach of the football program, is powerful and influential. That is something that needs to be of note, because for a narrative that has been put out there and made that these coaches can't coach on this level, well, this dude's presence is bringing, I mean, if you read the Sports Illustrated article, this dude's presence is bringing potential, major professors to schools, and bringing visibility to the institution outside of the program that everybody says that they care about. So whenever there's a conversation about college sports, especially about college athletes getting paid, oh, it's about the education, about the education, about the education. Well, when there's a coach that, especially on the sports side, that is showing that he can do the part for the education, what's the issue? So ultimately, sports is bigger than sports sometimes. It's not always about how fast somebody can run down the sideline, or how high somebody can jump, or what they look like when they do a spin move, or these things like that. In order for them to even get to that level, there's a lot of hard work, perseverance, discipline, blood, sweat, and tears, sacrifice, a lot of that goes into there: motivation, guidance, accountability, things such as that go down, that need to happen in order for teams to get there. And when you have a coach, and again, you got to look at the other media, but when you have a coach who is animate and loving to his players, and his and the men and boys that he's guiding, like a Coach Prime, I do believe that he does deserve that spotlight, because when you look past the game, you can see that this man is way more than that. And that is my second college football team now, so I do hope that he has all of the success coming up in the future years. Not only because I want to see a black coach do good, and I want black coaches to get their spot, but I want to see my dude Prime win, man. Because the biggest thing about this, and I'm gonna let you go, is why are you not putting respect on this man's name? This is a Hall of Famer, the greatest cornerback of all time, that not only is the greatest cornerback of all time, but was a pretty damn good baseball player, that he played the game at the same time. We would fly on planes to go, helicopters to go from one game to the next game during the World Series. Come on now, put some respect on Coach Prime's name, that if it was any other Hall of Famer that was getting into sports and coaching like this, you wouldn't be just disrespecting him just because he had a bad season. You would look at what he's been doing, the Prime effect, right? What he does for the educational program and for the community, that makes him who he is, makes him as magnanimous, makes him the motivator, makes him the coach that he's gonna be, that he's gonna show you in the next few years. So all you haters out there, I mean, you really just need better arguments. There are some things that I probably could agree with you on, but you decide to use the most ridiculous arguments to make your point that it doesn't really make any sense. So yeah, he deserves it. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.